Hey, welcome everyone. This is going to be a 1v1 here. I'm playing as Germany. My opponent is Iraq. So the question I'm going to be answering is Germany good? Can Germany beat Soviets? So the reason why you would pick Germany in the first place is to get their exclusive tank destroyers. But many people, I'm going to say by far Germany is one of the most underrated um, factions in this game. And just nowadays, you really don't ever see anyone choose Germany as their primary faction. Um, and honestly, I was like that for a while until a very good player beat me as Germany while I was, another allied faction like America or Great Britain or something. And I remember whenever I was playing against this guy, he used German tank destroyers very, very efficiently, and I was just blown away by how he used them. So, German tank destroyers are very interesting. They're a great anti-rush unit. If you're someone who struggles against Soviet rushers, then German tank destroyers are your best friend. The only thing is that you need to get out your Air Force headquarters real quickly, because that's the only way that you're able to begin building tank destroyers. But tank destroyers, I guess I'll just talk about their pros and cons. So their pros are that they're very strong. They're obviously good at destroying tanks. They do massive damage to tanks, and number two is that they are just as tough in terms of armor. They are just as tough as Rhino tanks, but they do even more damage. Now the cons are that in this particular fight, this guy should not have fought me up the hill. He just lost so much stuff, and those tank destroyers went to work, and they just cleaned up house. If those were all Grizzly tanks, then I would have lost that fight. But tank destroyers here for the win. But as I was saying, so we talked about the pros, now let's talk about the cons. So they're obviously slower. They're much slower than the average tank. And their turret, the turret does not rotate, so it cannot fire on the move. It has to be perfectly stationary to fight. So if you want to, if a fleeing group of tank destroyers is like, it's easy to pick them off. You need to make sure that they're standing still, or else they're not going to be able to fire. Even if you use like the control shift where you command your unit to fire on the run, it won't work well at all. Unlike Apocalypse tanks, the control shift does work pretty well, because the Apocalypse tank's turret can rotate, but the tank destroyers, it's fixed. So it's basically useless. But anyways, so here I do make one big mistake here. You'll see pretty soon. But the thing is that you want to in order to use tank destroyers well, you need to let your opponent attack you. Obviously, you don't want to be chasing down your enemies, because they're obviously tank destroyers and they cannot fire on the run. So they need to be perfectly still, and you need to let your enemy engage here. And this was what I thought was going to happen, but instead here, this guy was pretty smart, and he used his speed of the Rhino tanks to outmaneuver my tank destroyers. Now you can see my tank destroyers are way over there in the ore patch, and he was able to make me force to sell my battle lab, and he was able to get a lot of pot shots on my miners to make them really weak. But in the end here, I kind of cornered him, so he ended up losing all of his tanks. I lost hardly anything except for that lab. I don't think I lost a single miner, but yeah. So around this time, my opponent is actually going for a naval yard, and he's going to be getting for a dreadnought. And it's funny because he basically pops that thing out of his naval yard the exact same time I come with my aircraft carrier. So we were on the same page. The only thing is, I deployed my naval yard first, he deployed his battle lab first, and then I immediately started going for my lab, and then he went for his naval yard. So the timing was pretty perfect, just a little bit in reverse. So yeah, so the thing is that for tank destroyers, you gotta throw them in the mix of your army. They're great for defending, for throwing them in the mix of your tanks to help assist your Battle Fortress. I would still say the Battle Fortress is obviously the best tank in the entire game, but many times Battle Fortresses alone can't win you the game. You need some kind of support tanks like Mirages and Prisms and whatnot. German tank destroyers are a perfect tank to help defend against fleeing Battle Fortresses. In case you're being swarmed by a bunch of tanks, tank destroyers are the way to go. So here, the Soviet player, he's going to be destroying my stuff, and I immediately began going for a gap generator, and then I go for a Tanya because, you know, I can't reach his dreadnought, and, you know, in order for my navy to reach his navy, I'm going to have to destroy that bridge, and that's going to take a long time. So I decided, you know what, I got to get my Tanya out fast, and I was able to quickly destroy that boat. And here, that dreadnought got a promotion, so thank God I took it out pretty quickly, and now it's pretty much game over. I mean, with that gap generator, he was not able to see my most valuable buildings, and that kind of prohibited him from doing a lot of damage. But anyways, GG.